More than 100 years after Titanic disappeared beneath the Atlantic Ocean, another vessel went searching for it. But this time, it was not a giant ship. It was a small deep-sea submersible called Titan. And just like Titanic, it was built with human confidence, ambition, and the belief that technology could take people where few had ever gone before. The company behind it was called OceanGate. Their dream was to make deep sea exploration feel possible for ordinary people with extraordinary money. They wanted to take passengers nearly 4,000 meters below the ocean surface to see the wreck of the Titanic with their own eyes. For most people, Titanic was only a story-old photographs, documentaries, movies, and memories from history. But OceanGate offered something different, a real journey to the bottom of the North Atlantic. A chance to look through a small window and see the remains of the most famous shipwreck in the world. For adventure lovers, explorers, and wealthy travelers, it sounded like the ultimate experience. But the deep ocean is not like the sky. It is not like a mountain. It is not like any place humans were meant to survive. At Titanic's depth, the pressure is terrifying. The ocean presses from every direction with the weight of thousands of meters of water. One small weakness in a vessel can become the difference between life and death. Still, the mission continued. The Titan submersible was small. It could carry only 5 people. Inside there was limited space, equipment, screens, and a tiny window. Once the hatch was closed from the outside, the people inside were sealed in. On June 18th, 2023, 5 people prepared to enter Titan. There was Stockton Rush, the CEO of OceanGate, the man who believed in the project. There was Paul-Henri Nargeolet, a respected Titanic expert who had visited the wreck many times before. There was Hamish Harding, a British explorer and businessman who loved extreme adventures. And there were Shahzada Dawood and his 19-year-old son, Suleiman Dawood, a father and son taking a journey that was supposed to become an unforgettable memory. For them, this was not meant to be a tragedy. It was meant to be historic. They were going to descend through darkness, pass through the freezing deep, and reach the silent grave of Titanic. Above them, the support ship waited on the surface. Inside Titan, the passengers sat close together. There were no luxury seats, no open deck, no escape door. Only the small vessel, the black ocean outside, and the belief that everything would work. The dive began. Slowly, Titan started sinking into the Atlantic. The submersible sent messages to the surface. It continued descending. The water outside grew darker and darker. Sunlight disappeared. The world above became farther away with every passing minute. Below them was Titanic, a ship that had become legend, a ship that had already warned the world about pride. But as Titan went deeper, the pressure grew stronger. Then something changed. Contact was lost. At first, people hoped it was only a communication problem. Deep underwater, signals can fail. Maybe Titan was still safe. Maybe it had reached the wreck. Maybe it would return. But hours passed. Titan did not come back. Soon, the whole world was watching. Ships, aircraft, sonar teams, and underwater robots joined the search. News channels followed every update. Families waited. Experts explained the danger. People everywhere hoped for good news. There was one terrifying detail. Titan had a limited oxygen supply. That turned the search into a race against time. For days, the world imagined the same painful scene. 5 people trapped in darkness at the bottom of the ocean. Waiting, breathing carefully, hoping someone would find them before the air ran out. But the ocean was hiding a darker truth. Because if Titan had failed at that depth, it would not have happened like a movie. There would be no slow leak, no water slowly filling the cabin, no final escape, No time to scream. No long goodbye. At that depth, if the pressure hull failed, the ocean would crush inward with unimaginable force. It was not an explosion. It was an implosion. An explosion pushes outward. An implosion crushes inward. One moment, Titan was descending through darkness toward Titanic. The next moment, the pressure vessel failed. The ocean collapsed around it instantly. In a fraction of a second, the submersible was destroyed. The 5 people inside most likely never had time to understand what was happening. The end came faster than fear itself. While the world above was still counting oxygen hours, while rescue teams were still searching, while families were still hoping, the tragedy had likely already happened deep below. Titan was not waiting to be rescued. Titan was gone. Then came the discovery. Search teams found debris on the ocean floor near the Titanic wreck site. Not a trapped submersible, not a signal, not survivors. Debris. That was the moment hope ended. The mission to find Titan became a recovery operation, and the world finally understood that this was not only a missing submarine story, it was a tragedy. Later, investigators focused on the design, safety warnings, testing, and decisions behind OceanGate's Titan. The question was no longer only, what happened? The question became, why was this allowed to happen? OceanGate wanted to open the deep ocean to more people. They wanted to make the impossible feel possible. But the Titan disaster reminded the world that exploration without enough caution can become deadly. That is what makes this story so haunting. Titanic was once called unsinkable. Titan was created to visit Titanic. More than a century separated them, but both stories carried the same warning. Human beings can build incredible machines. We can cross oceans. We can dive into darkness. We can chase history, mystery, and discovery. But nature does not care about human confidence. The ocean does not forgive mistakes, and sometimes the place people go to witness history becomes the place where they become part of history themselves. Titan went looking for Titanic, but in the end, it became a warning of its own.